Hello, good afternoon, and a very warm welcome everyone to this webinar, Music, Mental Health and Social Change, which is one in a series of events which Owen Mitchell is hosting to mark World Mental Health Week. My name's Laura Harper, I'm a partner at Owen Mitchell and I head up the National Media Entertainment team. As part of our work with the creative industries, myself and my colleague Aurelia, who you'll meet in a moment, and the team advise music businesses and professionals, and we also regularly support grassroots organisations and initiatives in the music industry, both regionally and nationally. Mental health is an issue which affects us all, and we are absolutely invested in the importance of mental health and well-being to our clients, colleagues and communities. Through the work of our media entertainment team, we see the positive impact of music on mental health, and indeed its effect is widely accepted. However, the precise power of music as a tool for social change and improved mental health can be astounding. And so with this in mind, we are delighted to be joined by an organisation which uses creativity and a charity which exists to bring about better futures through music. It's called Audioactive, and we're joined today by Adam Julia, CEO of Audioactive. We also are due to be joined by Alison Surtees, who works for an organisation called In Place of War. And these are two fantastic speakers and organisations which use music to promote mental well-being and social change. We will have a Q&A session at the end of the event, but please do direct any questions to the group chat and we'll do our best to answer them all later. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce you to my colleague Aurelia Butler, who will chair today's event. Over to you, Aurelia.
Thanks so much, Laura. Hello, everyone. My name is Aurelia Butler. I'm a senior associate in the media and entertainment team here at Owen Mitchell. I am thrilled for Adam from Audioactive and hopefully shortly Alison from In Place of War to be joining us today. These are two of the leading charities in this space, using music to connect, engage and improve the lives and mental health of others. Now, Adam, I'm lucky enough to be a trustee of Audioactive, so for others here today, would you please give some background on Audioactive? And I think we've got a video for you to introduce to. Thanks.
Okay, so we are a talent development organisation, but we also use music to run social innovation projects across Sussex mainly. About half of our work is in Brighton and Hove, and the rest is across Sussex. We've got a lot of stuff going on in Crawley and Worthing as well. And in short, we have a load of projects that are free to attend. They are run by professional artists. They're mostly working in urban music and electronic music. And if you're of the right age and there's space in the workshop, you can just show up with an agenda to make some music. And there's someone there and the kit there to help you to do that. The other side of what we do is where we team up with other organisations, local authorities, other charities with specific social aims. So, for example, mental health, violence reduction, reducing reoffending. And we co-design interventions with them that use music to to help to alleviate societal problems. One of those projects is Room to Rant, which we're going to show you a short video about now. We're just going to play a couple of minutes from the start of this video, and then I'll tell you a little bit more about the project itself and some of the other work we do. So Olivia, if you could cue the video, please, and I'll see you all in a sec.
I'm Rory Graham, aka Rag and Bone Man, and I'm the patron of Audioactive, a project that aims to help people in a variety of ways through music. Audioactive is helping to affect real social change with projects like Room to Rant. Run in partnership with Charity Mankind, Room to Rant is a rap and spoken word workshop with focus on mental health. About
maybe 3 years or so, Audioactive and Mankind had a little meeting, decided that it was good to put in some of the things that Audioactive had been doing, particularly with beat making and lyric writing, into a session where people could just let fly.
project aims to give young men a chance to get things off their chests in a safe space.
It was really to create somewhere that young men could come that offered an alternative method for them to get support.
Many of the lads involved in Room to Rant have had troubled pasts. This is a project that gives them the opportunity to get what's in their head out in the open.
You know, really check in with everyone, you know, we'll go on the table and see how everyone's doing, and, you know, if someone's had a bad week, you know, we'll base the group depending on that.
And we had some sessions where we would just talk for 2 hours. Philosophy, history, moral dilemmas, just everything getting covered. You know, mate, we've got half an hour left, so let's get rapping.
I'm sick of this life being competition, and that if I died, it'd just be repetition. I'm sick of this life, why is the ups better living, better watch how you step and you better listen. Look around and there's brothers that I'm looking up, screaming that I'm missing. I don't follow crowds no more, I keep the distance, I like to be different. See these girls on the side that I'm lips, and I keep their hand on the dial, see a ticket, see I'm on this mission, high in the sky.
I don't ever say any of this stuff like out loud in any other way.
Said my dad never been around, mum used to scream at him, call my dad's best friend, beat her out. That's my sister's dad, so you understand why I'm screaming now. That's why I drown these thoughts and just keep them loud. Feds used to bust up in my mum's house, pepper spray had me screaming on the ground.
When I first started, I don't ever say any of this stuff like out loud.
Okay, thank you. So yeah, just a little insight there into Room to Rant. And as you can see, the young men who come down find it a really useful way just to sort of get together and get stuff off their chests. As you heard Dylan saying there, that the thing about Room to Rant for him is that he never, and you actually hear the other young men say the same thing, is that they never actually get a way to express themselves and to talk about their feelings in any other settings. The 4 young men in the film have all typically tried out other more conventional methods of support in the past, talking therapies and the like, and it's just not really worked for them, or it's not been a format that they've been comfortable with. And what the music has done here, given that this isn't a talking therapy, it's not a music therapy modelled project, but it's given them a really authentic way to have conversations, to talk about their troubles, to really build some solidarity with other people and young men, and to have a weekly contact with not only some professional musicians who can support them in their creative practice, but with therapeutic professionals who are also in the room there. So Room to Rant's provided a really nice kind of front door for a lot of young men into an alternative method of getting support, really, that they find much more authentic. And, you know, I think we're going to get into it a little bit in the conversation later on, but I think for me, there are lots of people out there, when we're talking about how music can in terms of mental health can really help people, we tend to see people accessing our projects who have fallen through the net and who the real conventional ways of getting support just haven't managed to get to engage, which is why I think it's a really important thing to do, to be using music and creativity itself to not just provide other kind of character building support, but actually incorporating therapeutic or alternative therapeutic gateways really into that. Have we got Alison in as well? I think, should I leave it there and hand over back to you, Aurelia?
Thanks, Adam. That's really helpful insight in the real powerful work that you do. I think we do have Alison with us by the powers of technology. Alison, hi there. Welcome. Thank you so much for joining us. Alison, it would be fantastic if you could just give us a bit more information about In Place of War and your role in the organisation. And then again, I think we've got a short video to show a bit more about that.
Yeah, Apologies, first of all, for being late. Had a few issues logging in. I'm actually sat in a hotel foyer in Clermont-Ferrand in the middle of France. So we're on the road this month. Okay, so my name's Alison Surtees. I work with an organisation called In Place of War. And as an organisation, we work with change makers across the globe, predominantly from the global south, and predominantly across South America and Africa and the continent. The change makers work within their communities to make change using creativity. That, I suppose, is the key here. When we talk about music, particularly, that is a big area of the work that a lot of our change makers work in. We would go one step further than it being just about mental health. This is actually about saving lives for a lot of people. So if we think, for instance, in communities in Medellin, in Colombia, and the issues there, hip hop for sure has been seminal in making life-changing possibilities for young people. As an organisation, we deliver on several pillars, predominantly around how we can support creatives in communities through access. So quite a lot of the communities that we work with lack access to either finance or facilities or other people who are creative who can share knowledge and skills and expertise. We've developed a whole education program to help social entrepreneurs using their creativity in terms of enabling them to better understand different models and techniques. Quite often we look at a Western perspective of how this would happen. You know, we've got to have the money first before we can do anything. But actually there's some amazing practices out there across the global south where they have made massive change and real difference in their communities using their creativity with no money at all. So a lot of that program is about sharing that knowledge and skill and expertise. We also do a lot of research and try and look at innovative ways to keep people connected. And I suppose we'll talk a little bit more in the Q&A session a little bit later on. I'm just conscious that if I start going on now, I'm going to touch on some of the questions that I know you're going to ask. So it's probably better to give a flavour of the kind of work we do, to show the video and then pick up through the questions later on.
In Place of War at this point in time is our hope. It's basically the only hope we have.
But there it is in Place of War, we're like, blow, there you go.
What has happened today is amazing. It's beyond my expectation.
Having a space where young people can go is key to their future. People have amazing ideas and they are young and vivacious. I think it's crucial to have such spaces.
The purpose of this course is just to equip the entrepreneurs and people who want to see change in their community to be the people that they want to be.
This whole collaboration was brought together by In Place of War. It's really important, it's really dope.
Life is really difficult for local artists, but In Place of War, we came through with the intention of spreading a good vibe through the name of music.
It matters. It's so massively important in the communities that we work in.
This has been the most amazing journey for me. So a big thank you, and I am very happy.
So just to add a little bit more context to that, when we're called In Place of War because we work in conflict zones, not all literal war, although some of that is, but it could be gang warfare, it could be political oppression. So it's places across the world where there are major social issues going on, as well as other issues around access.
That's fantastic, Alison. Thank you so much. And I guess there's really no doubt that music is I mean, it has a primal, a visceral effect on humans. Why else do you think that music is such a powerful tool to improve mental health and drive social change?
Is that just to me, or are we?
Yeah, well, I mean, initially to you, Alison, but yeah, Adam can, I'm sure, will have some thoughts too. Thank you.
Okay. Well, I think music, more than anything else, is one of those to transcend boundaries. Literally one of the few communication tools that we can all share, no matter what language we all speak. And it has an ability to speak at an emotional level as well as just pure oral level. And I think that ultimately is what enables people to connect and is vitally important when we talk about mental health, because we feel understood. Quite often you'll hear people talk about, you know, the music that changed their life, the gig that changed their life, the song that changed their life, because it speaks to people at that emotional level. And I think that's the kind of level we need to understand when we're talking about mental health, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Sorry, Adam, I was just going to bring you in on that. It'd be great to hear your thoughts.
Yeah, I think, you know, I second everything that Alison was saying. And, you know, I once had someone say to me that they're a mental health professional, actually, when we're talking about things like depression, is that it's not, depression is not primarily feeling really, really bad and sad all the time. Quite often it's the absence of feeling. And everything that Alison just said so articulately there is that, you know, I think that music really just, it allows us to connect with those emotions much more. It kind of, it really brings a lot. I mean, when I don't just listen to music when I want to feel happy. I listen to music when I want to feel sad, or I want to sort of say, you know, remember a certain time or a person that I appreciate in my past or that might not be with us. And I think, yeah, just being able to sort of feel and recognize emotions is such a strong thing when it comes to staying healthy and happy. I think the other thing as well is there's just that ability to bring people together. You know, when we obviously evaluate a lot of our work, I would say the common theme across anything that we do, whether the focus of it is talent development or mental health or any of the other sort of aims of some of the projects we run, the main thing that you hear back is that about why they enjoyed the project was that it made them feel like they belonged to something, and that bringing different people together, making new friends and social connections, it just, like you say, it's that great leveler. You can have such a broad range of people in a room together at once doing the same thing, coming from such different backgrounds. And, you know, in some of our projects, we've got incredibly underprivileged young people, incredibly privileged people at the same time. But there's none of that kind of hierarchy or difference in the room. It's just they're all there through a love of music, quite often the same style of music. And they're all there on the same level, and I think that the impact that can have on someone's mental health is huge, really.
Yeah, I think that idea of it being a real leveler and, you know, evoking emotion is something that we can all absolutely relate to. And I guess both of your organisations work with individuals and communities which are hard to reach. And I guess, Alison, can you tell us a bit more about why music is able to reach and engage these individuals and communities, which I guess other projects aren't able to?
Well, I'm probably not going to be, I hate the term hard to reach. People are never hard to reach. You just need to be bothered to go out and have a conversation. And actually how we develop our the people that we work with comes through connections. And it's very much at that community facing level, even globally across the world, wherever we work. It's actually about the community reaching out to us and asking for help and support. And we would go in very much at that grassroots level to find out what kind of support we can give. This is never a, we are the experts and we know all about this and we're going to give you, actually that's not the case at all. So in that respect, it's a conversation. And even I think everything that I've done over the last 20 years has always been about how can you put that level of, let's strip everything aside. These are two people, two human beings trying to make a connection and work together. So for me, it's, again, finding a common language, and creativity, whether that's music or anything else, gives a common language. You don't need to be able to speak the language of the country that you're working in. There's something about a connection through creativity that enables you to transcend all that and share experiences in a way that you're not able to do through just general language. So this isn't about asking somebody to come and engage in a maths class to improve their maths, but actually through being engaged in a project, they may well improve their maths, for instance, by looking at budgeting or working around, right, we've got a set amount of budget to do this project, let's work through that together. And in a way that had nothing to do with it being about maths. And in a similar way, that's how we work with all our projects. So it's really about understanding the community in which you want to work, finding a common language that you can all use, and creativity gives you that. But ultimately, it's about how you can facilitate the people to achieve what they want to achieve and not dictate how that process or what that process should look like.
Yeah, I think that's you know, really fantastic insight. And I guess, Adam, you know, things such as low confidence and self-esteem can often be a cause or a symptom of mental health problems, especially in young people, especially in the current climate. Can you explain a bit how music is quite unique in tackling these issues?
Yeah, I think something I see a lot of is that music, I mean, we work mainly with teenagers, and I guess they're in this really kind of interesting point of their life where they are establishing and trying to figure out their place in the world and in their own peer group. And what from a self-esteem angle, I think that if there is the infrastructure in the place that allows people to be seen as artists and be identified by other people as artists, no matter what their age or their point in their journey, that kind of helps them to build a really positive self-identity, and that might be something that they've not managed to do as just themselves without their music life or their music identity before. And I think that, you know, one of my favorite parts of this job is like when you see someone step on stage for the first time or share some of their music with the world or an audience for the first time, and the immediate after bit of that when they've finished and they come off, and it's kind of like, and there's a reaction and people really want them to, people are really supportive, that, you know, it's sometimes I think the first time that they might have been seen or reacted to in a positive way by either people they don't know or adults or people around them. And you know, quite often I find that some of the young people we work with, especially the ones who really excel in a lot of our settings, are really quite subversive. They want to go against the grain. They're quite individual. They want to challenge convention, and these are all sort of qualities that make for great creatives, right? Make for great artists, and they're also qualities that can make them really hard to manage in formal institutions and their school life and every day. And I think that because of that, you often find by the time like we're seeing them at 13 or 14 years old, they've not really found a way to shine in their everyday life. And I think that they can do that through sort of extracurricular stuff and that non-formal sort of setting. So yeah, I think in answer to your question, yeah, just building that different self-identity when they might have had a different self-identity up until this point of being a problem, and all of a sudden they are a standout, kind of like a lot of people look at it and go, I wish I could do that kind of thing. So I mean, that's just one example, I guess, of ways that it can really boost someone's self-esteem.
Alison, is there anything that you can add to that from your work and almost using great grassroots change makers to inspire others and inspire themselves? Could you?
Yeah, absolutely. And I could give you so many examples of great change makers we've worked with. And I'm going to select one. There's a young guy we work with called Benny in Uganda, northern Uganda. And he wanted to work with other young men and was using hip hop as his tool. But basically, he had access to land. So what they would do was grow their own vegetables and fruit and so forth, sell it, and from the money that they raised beyond covering their own costs, they would go into prisons and do hip hop sessions in the hope that people coming out of prison then had some focus to work on and could come and join them in their agri business. So it was agri hip hop, and that was their kind of terminology for it. But it was all about building confidence in their own abilities and recognizing, like the example there that Adam was sharing in his work. Actually, it's giving people a voice, most importantly, and for a lot of young people who perhaps have been traditionally not listened to, particularly when you look at traditional institutions of education. You know, your job is to turn up, go in, do your lesson, keep your mouth shut, keep your head down, and then come out the other side. And quite often that doesn't suit everybody, and they become problematic, and that impacts young people's perceptions of themselves. What creativity does, and music particularly, is enables them a language. I keep using this term, but it gives them a language, but it importantly gives them a voice, a way to speak their own truth, and that has massive impacts for confidence and self-esteem. And if you want to actualize as an individual without self-confidence and self-esteem, you will never progress. They are the two biggest blocks to achieving whatever you want to do in life. And so many young people lack this. You know, they can often present as quite cocky and attitudinal, but that's their front. It's their front because they don't have the confidence, or they don't have the esteem to push through with what they want to do. But,
yeah, I love that idea that playing music, engaging with music, actually equips you with the skills and tools needed just for life generally. You know, they can really permeate all of those avenues of life. And I like the idea also that actually, you know, communities and groups of people can almost create their own scene of music and a type of genre. And Adam, just on that, I mean, I know the work that Audioactive do are quite conscious in ensuring that, you know, a scene is created locally, and it does also is very well connected with the music industry to give it you know, a proper platform and value in that respect.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I think in the areas that we've worked, we've been going around 20 years, and it's probably fair to say that where what we do has worked best has been in Brighton and Hove. And I'm under no illusions that that's because there's such a vibrant scene here. And I think that, you know, the people who come and engage in what we do, okay, they enjoy what they do while they're with us, but they also we're just a vehicle to that further. You know, if they want to be an artist, they see us as a stepping stone to getting into the scene. And I think what I'm trying to say is that there's only a glass ceiling as to how much impact we can achieve if there isn't a vibrant scene at the other end of it. And for that reason, you know, we've also started to operate quite a lot actually in some of the other areas we work about scene development itself, and like, you know, that nighttime economy thing, moving over into placemaking and space-based projects. And actually, you know, and if there isn't a scene there, working with local partners to try and make that happen, because although we are a young people's development charity, like I say, where the real kind of impact is, and I've seen a question from someone listening here from one of the audience today asking about, you know, what are the other avenues for people older than 25 to get into music as a way to support mental health. Is that I think the reality is there are some places out there, but compared to youth music organisations, there's a network of organisations like us across the country, and we're all slightly different, but we're all very similar as well. And I think that once you get past 25, 30, there is a little bit of a vacuum compared to up to the age of 25 in terms of free supportive places where you can do the kind of things that we're talking about here. So yeah, we've been involved in trying to make sure that there's really good routes into industry, that we're linking up older young people at the point where they start to lose interest in our workshops with more industry development opportunities, with mentoring. We have an artist development program that gets behind 2 artists a year, and we put, you know, £5,000 plus in a cash budget behind the next steps in their career. And that's quite a young project for us, the artist development program. But even without that, we've had some real, for the size of organisation we are, some real success in helping young people move into the industry. The winner of the BBC Sound of 2020, Celeste, had some involvement in Audioactive as she was coming up. Winner of BBC Sound of 2019, Octavian, the same. And before that, our charity patrons, who are now charity patrons, Rizzle Kicks, were part of the furniture from the age of 13. And they were still coming along to projects when they were signed, and getting involved in very grassroots sort of development stuff as participants as opposed to mentors. So, you know, it's really, I think it's really important that we don't just kind of hijack music as purely a way to solve a problem. You know, I think music for music's sake is very, very important. And actually, a lot of the byproducts of doing projects that we run that just have a music focus, they still have all of these outcomes in terms of confidence, self-esteem, motivation, mental health, possibly an equal amount, actually. It's just that we evaluate them differently. So yeah, the scene and the actual the routes into industry are really important. But one thing I would say is that I think that where we're talking about helping creatives' career development, and especially in this country where the music industry is so fickle, I think we all need to be really responsible in supporting artists around managing expectations. I mean, there's such a metric now given to success, you know, based on figures and how many people come to a gig, or how many people like their posts, or, you know. And I think this metric of success that a lot of the industry use to judge whether or not they should sign an artist and things like that can have a very damaging impact on mental health. So we're just really starting to figure out now actually how we can be responsibly supporting the well-being of people that we're actually working with on an artist development level, as opposed to sort of more formative years.
Yeah, absolutely. It's quite a sobering thought to think that you can help someone with, you know, mental health issues and increase their creativity into a profession which can then, you know, affect their mental health. So yeah, absolutely. And Alison, we've seen with COVID, you know, it's had such a detrimental effect on people's mental health, anxiety and other things. And how is In Place of War managing to continue to reach people in need and continue to have a positive impact? I mean, you've said you're all over the world, but you know, half of it's been in lockdown for quite some time. How have you overcome those issues?
Well, for us, we really had to rethink everything that we did, because traditionally we would go to countries, spend time with communities and help develop programs and plans to support them. And we basically had to transfer everything we did to online. But actually, it's probably made us more connected than we were in the past, because it's much easier to sustain that connection using platforms such as Zoom. So we have 2 weekly webinar scenarios where people from our network, Changemaker network, can do a talk. They're given the slot and they can do talks on whatever they want, either some good practice, something they're struggling with. I've also done some mental health sessions because that's something else I do as well as the creative stuff. So twice a week they know that there's an online opportunity to share, to talk to other people across the network, across all the different countries. But actually what's been a bigger challenge is that we work at such a grassroots level that there's been a massive issue in terms of even feeding the communities, because there is no safety net. In a lot of the communities that we work, there isn't such a thing as a National Health Service. There isn't such a thing as access to social security. So what we had to do was raise funds to literally give to communities to feed communities. That's the level at which we were operating. So when we're talking about mental health, there is nothing more important than your ability to put a roof over your head and food in your belly. I mean, we're working out with a brilliant group, 2 groups of people over in Lavender Hill, which is in the Cape Flats in South Africa. And, just with a small amount of financial input from us, from our fundraising efforts, they're feeding a couple of 100 people on a regular basis every week. And this is a community that originally we were working with in terms of setting up a creative space so that they can do more music projects with the kids to stop them getting involved in the gangs around drugs. So, our focus has shifted. Our aim is still to support that community. That support has changed for the time being, away from the creative practice and actually to more, I suppose, humanitarian level support. But it's nonetheless still critical, and it enables that community to stay connected, to feed itself, whilst we ride out the current situation and maintain them, so that when we get to the other side of this, whatever that might be, we're able to meet that challenge then and see right now what is this new scenario and how's that going to work. So we've kind of connected with a lot of platforms that have been able to fundraise for us. We connect with artists because that's part of our collaboration project, just to keep anything fundraising coming in so that we can continue to do that work with our change makers across the globe.
That's really fascinating, the way that you can use your established engagement and network in different ways and pivot that to provide those communities with other support, when needed in times of global crisis. And Adam, on that use of, digital platforms or changing ways in which to engage with people in time of lockdown, have you had to change your programs and the way you deliver those and would you continue to deliver them in that way? I think Adam might be on mute. You're on mute, Adam?
Sorry about that. Yeah, absolutely. We completely had to pivot how we worked in order to keep being able to have an impact for young people. The first thing we did really was we sent out a survey just to sort of ask people what they wanted from us in these times, because I think it's all too easy to kind of to just assume that that there's a need to keep doing something. We need to keep doing something. What is it we're going to do? There's only a certain amount of ways you can engage with people online, and I think that you could see a lot of people started to try and take practice online through Zoom, still being able to do tuition or mentoring. But actually what people came back and told us was that they just really would appreciate ways to still connect as opposed to ways to learn and develop. And one of the things we did was we teamed up with a company called Charanga, who traditionally are a music software provider for schools and primary schools. But one of our practitioners had developed a thing called VIP Studio, which was a part of Charanga's offer now. And they are basically, it's a cloud-based music production solution. And talking about access, it can be quite expensive still to be able to make music at home if you're into technology based music making. You know, you need a decent computer that can handle the software, you need the software, you'd probably need internet. And what this did was basically took all of those tech requirements out of the mix. As long as you could get online somehow, you could make music. So we were able to, they gave us unlimited free subscriptions. And then we used that sort of piece of work to still carry on being able to check in with young people, either through Zoom or mainly on the phone, to be honest, but just really to have a chat with them about how their week's gone, how they're doing, how they're coping with stuff. And then to be able to just send them information that they could work on their own through VIP Studio. And then what we did was to focus, we used that as a case study to take that nationally and then start training other organisations to do the same thing. And again, Chiranga opened up those subscriptions to any organisations like us to give out to free to young people. So that's one of the things we did. We also managed to raise money to try and alleviate the digital poverty that people were seeing as well. So raising money to buy laptops for young people and having those delivered to their houses, instruments, internet vouchers, so that they can still actually engage with what we had to offer. Because I'd say that the biggest thing that came back was that young people just didn't necessarily have a way to get online. So we had to deal with that as well. We did sort of do a series of sort of tips and tricks, sort of live production techniques, but you know, that didn't really take off. I think the biggest thing really was the actual alleviation of digital poverty, to be honest. But also, rather than kind of just batten down the hatches and put everyone on furlough, I think what we did was just to try and put all of our energy, in fact, we recruited more people into making sure we could still engage with people online. We never had like this big comms capacity before, or a marketing capacity. Suddenly we really needed one. So yeah, you know, some of it worked, some of it didn't. And in answer to your question, so for example, with Room to Rant, we went over to using Discord, which is traditionally a gaming platform for gamers to kind of come together. And we took the project over onto Discord. We turned off the cameras, and we found that for some young people that worked a lot better. As soon as the cameras had gone, those who had been really withdrawn in a face-to-face session just completely opened up. So yeah, in answer to your question, we will carry on using some of these ways. I mean, the way I envisage it in the future is possibly having integrated sessions. So we'll have groups where we're face-to-face. We might have small groups, but also have people dialing in digitally as well. Yeah.
Yeah, thanks, Adam. And I think, you know, from my experience working with recording artists in the music industry, who actually they're the one time that they feel very positive and at one with themselves is on stage, and it's that time in their life where they feel at their most calm. And we've had a question in from our audience today, saying for someone who may get a real pleasure from going on stage and having that sense of achievement, how would they be able to replicate that in their day-to-day lives to keep the momentum of positivity going, particularly given the varying stages of lockdown? And Alison, I don't know if you have any thoughts on that question about how we can all kind of translate what we usually get from the creative industries and music into our kind of day-to-day lives.
It's a bit of a broad spectrum question, that in terms of performance, we're still seeing people do performance. They're just doing it on whatever platform that they're doing, of course. I've seen a lot of artists now moving on to doing Facebook Lives, for instance, so that they can just broadcast some performance. Because I think, you know, this isn't just about at grassroots level, it's at every single level of the music industry, which is struggling massively, as we're seeing no venues are open at the moment and access to live music. So it's at each stage, I would say. It's just about, if people are looking to do the performance, they can still do that using the platforms that are free to access out there. And that can do wonders for a lot of people. For others, it's actually about using this time to maybe work on writing, and it's not just always about the end performance. And actually for a lot of people, particularly who we're working through our networks, this is given that space to actually have a step back for a moment and think about what it is they want, where they want to progress to, but also look at other aspects that they need to work on in terms of their own selves, and maybe some new learning that they'd like to do, which will help in terms of what they're trying to do through their music. It's enabled us to do some great sessions online in terms of songwriting, and where do you get your ideas from? How can we help people to grow their thought processes around their own writing and creative development? So it's provided a lot of opportunities and still enabled, as Adam has said, it's really been just about staying connected, less about the feeling of needing to perform, although that is still there. But more about actually we're just being connected as human beings and being brought across whichever platform we want to use, but being brought together in a way that enables us to maintain that.
I think that's really, really helpful tips. Thank you so much. We could talk about this topic all day, but I'm conscious of time, so I just want to thank both Alison and Adam for joining us today. Your organisations are vital and incredibly inspiring, so thank you both so much, and I will pass back to Laura to wrap us up for this session.
Thanks, Aurelia, and thank you so much, Alison and Adam, for joining us today and telling us about the work of your organisations and sharing your thoughts and vast experience. I'm in awe of the work of both charities and would encourage everyone to support both or either if you're able to. And thanks both for persevering with the IT glitches too. So we've heard from both Alison and Adam on how music provides people with a voice to provide confidence and self-esteem, how music speaks to us on an emotional level and why it's an effective tool for supporting mental health. We know that music brings people together and that shared experience helps to promote mental health and provide support. And the point about music being a common language through which we can communicate, engage and improve lives and situations is a really powerful one. So we hope you all enjoyed the discussion. We've recorded the session and we'll share the link in a few days. There are other sessions this week, including on Thursday, how to navigate life's ups and downs when it comes to money, relationships, breakdown and divorce. On Friday, the effects of sport and physical activity on mental health and men's mental health and support surrounding baby loss. So thank you again. Do get in touch if you'd like any further information about In Place of War or Audioactive, either directly or to Alison and Adam. And we look forward to seeing you all next time. Many thanks. Bye.